So I have some fantastic news for all of you. Not just that I'm streaming tonight with Trups here at 9:30 PM GMT, but also PMQs is on next Wednesday. Or Wednesday coming, yes. Turns out there was a clash, and we're going to discuss it in the video, but it is widely believed Boris will in fact attend PMQs on Wednesday. Now the reason I'm more optimistic about this is because of the first one being an absolute hilarity. Honestly, it was great. The reason why all this is coming about, of course, is because the prorogation was ruled unlawful and voided. And the reason I mention a clash is because next week there was supposed to be another party conference. We've had the Labour one where they basically addressed everyone as comrade, plugged LGBTQIAPP plus ABC whatever, community stuff and black and minority ethnic programs. Got to appeal to those wider audiences now, haven't we? The Liberal Democrats basically being traitors in their little bingo hall. But somewhat interestingly, the Conservatives had yet to have theirs. Typically, they happen one after the other. So naturally, the Conservative Party's party conference should have been happening this week. But with the prorogation and all of that, it got moved to next week. What had happened was, the government brought forward a motion asking the Commons to adjourn until Thursday of next week, with 306 voting to reject the motion. This included a number of Conservative MPs and former Conservative MPs, all of whom coming up with various excuses that we'll get to in a moment. Interestingly, this is now the 7th vote Boris Johnson has lost out of 8 in the Commons, which is quite fun, really, because I don't think he actually cares about losing those votes. It is unfortunate that his party don't get to do their conference as scheduled, but of course it is quite important to be dealing with some of the domestic related issues and bills, debates and votes that do need to come forward. For example, the domestic violence bill is quite important and has cross-party support. Bringing that forward for scrutiny, debate and of course voting, ratification and so on is important. Same with issues in Northern Ireland that had been raised just before the prorogation began, also needed to be dealt with, so now it is here, we can now deal with it. The recess the Conservatives had put forward was simply a 3-day recess for their conference. 3 days, that's all. Every other party has had theirs. That's another key point from this. They voted against it, but under a different excuse. Jacob Rees-Mogg believes now that the vote has been cast and the government has lost, that even though the Prime Minister was meant to make a keynote speech at the time of PMQs, but in Manchester for the party conference, he will attend PMQs instead. If he doesn't, it's fine. We'll do the B team instead, which could be quite something. So to some of the MPs that are happy that this has happened, we have Liberal Democrats, lol, saying that they are pleased that MPs voted against the conference recessed, with his argument being, we have only just resumed sitting after being unlawfully dismissed by Boris. Now was not the time to grant the government additional time to sit on its hands and avoid scrutiny. It's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what you got the chance to do, because you don't do them simultaneously. That is customary. Although I will concede there is a valid point to it appearing to be more time-wasting when the government has not been telling you what it's been doing. Nick Boles, formerly a Conservative, now independent, had originally planned to abstain from voting, but decided to oppose the government, citing the Prime Minister's behaviour as a good enough reason to not grant the entire party a recess. Others, including David Gauke, Justin Greening and Amber Rudd, all voted against it. Labour and Co-op MP for Manchester Central, Lucy Powell, did vote against the government, but she actually regrets it to an extent, because the conference is a huge benefit to the Manchester economy, and so she was putting, I believe in her mind, the needs of the entire nation ahead of her constituency, which I can understand, even though it's 3 days. I mean, they could introduce another bill, another Hilary Benn surrender bill if they like, where it just says the Prime Minister must resign by this date, I guess. And they'll probably pass it as well, although I don't think you can actually do that. Maybe the cowards on the Labour front benches should call for a vote of no confidence. Things are getting interesting. I find it fascinating, the obvious double standard. They're okay doing their conferences during a time where they themselves were not happy doing it because of the prorogation, but at the same time happy to then take it away from the Conservatives and then insert generic, regurgitated, goalpost shifting excuse here. I can't wait for PMQs. I am so excited. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Another loss for Boris? Yes. But it does mean we get Boris in PMQs again. Hopefully.